have here is a 9 horsepower billy goat blower. And what I want to do now is just to take you through the process I go through when I get a new piece of equipment. When a piece of equipment arrives, obviously you just want to make sure it works ultimately. And then secondly, any parts, or you want to be checking that they're all there, or they're all there before that you've left the dealership. Things that I'm going to make a note of is in the owner's manual. There isn't really one with it, it's just kind of like leaflets. But I want to make a note of date I bought it, where I bought it, the price I paid. I'm also going to take a note of the serial number of the machine, but then also take a note of the engine serial number too. And the reasons why are, should something break on it, the first thing that the dealer is going to ask you is, have you got the serial number? Now, the engine obviously has a separate one, so if you have an engine malfunction, giving it the billy goat serial number isn't going to be enough. They're going to need the Honda serial number. So that's the reason why I take both numbers down. Also, should something be wrong and I need to get a part for it, and this is away in the lockup and I'm up in the office, what I'll be able to do is to go to the owner's manuals, and then I've got all the relevant information I need written down, and I wouldn't have to go up to the lockup to find out. Also, an advantage to writing all this stuff down is, should it be stolen, then I've got all the serial numbers written down, rather than going, oh, I forgot to do it. That's the first things that I'm going to do. Then once I've done that, I'm just going to do a little branding myself on it. Let's put it there. So the next thing I'm going to do, now I've taken down all the serial numbers, I've also just done a little bit of branding on there. I'm now going to just help identify it should it be stolen, and I'm going to use one of these permanent UV pens. Now, although they say permanent, I'm telling you now they're not permanent. So if I was to write the lawn guy, I know that that will not be there should you ever need one of these. So although this works quite well and it lights it up clearly, that is not permanent. As soon as it gets wet, it's going to wash off, and when you actually need to use it to identify this as yours, it won't be there. So what I always tend to do is go somewhere where the rain can't get to it, and that's normally somewhere like inside the air filter. Now, I'll do it on multiple places, but somewhere like that, the rain's not going to be getting in there, it's going to be nice and dry, so you know that should any of your equipment be stolen, and I don't know, maybe the serial numbers are ground off or whatever else. I appreciate it's not like a car expense or anything like that, but somewhere you could check. I would say to the police is, I've put a UV stamp in all of the air filter caps. It's something, isn't it? Something rather than nothing. So it's just something that I do. It only takes a couple of seconds, but it's a nice bit of peace of mind. Also, one thing to check when you do take the purchase of a new piece of equipment is just to have a look round. It's obviously been put together by someone in the dealership, and in my experience they're not always put together correctly, so you just want to check nuts and bolts have been tightened up. That eyelet there has been put in by the dealership, but actually look at the position of that. That's really irritating, isn't it? You've got all this metal work in the way of where you're going to be wanting to pull it. For me, that should be the other way round. That's going to mean that this is now going to be here, and there's now nothing in the way of it, so I'm going to swap that over. It's also worth just checking that they have put the right amount of oil in it. Yeah, there's fuel in there, so that's good, but it's always worth just checking that they've put the right amount of oil in before you start it up. Also, sometimes it's good to check these here just to make sure that that's been checked properly, so you're not leaking oil all over somebody's garden. Particularly when we were at the golf course and we would get new machinery, quite often you'd go out with a couple of spanners expecting there to be something a little bit loose, and more often than not that actually was the case. So a little bit of experience says that maybe you might need to tighten a few things up. Okay, so just to recap, new machinery. As soon as you get it through the door, take a note of the serial number. Take a note of the engine serial number. If you can, try and brand it with your stickers or anything that you've got that can identify it, you know, very visually as your piece of machinery. If you've got a UV pen, then just scribble away on it and make sure that when you do scribble away on it, that it's somewhere dry where it's not going to get washed off, because although it says permanent, it's not permanent. Be checking that the dealers have put enough oil in the machine. You also want to just check round and make sure any obvious nuts and bolts, particularly the ones that you know the dealers have done, are done up tight. But most of all, enjoy your new machinery.